Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a second look at the Cemo A4 case, which some of you didn't really like the looks of it. You said it looked like a sort of an unfinished prototype, and you know, I can kind of see where you're coming from, especially when you have to install the dust filters yourself. So let's take a look at thermals on this thing and see whether it's really worth your money to spend almost $100 on a case that frankly runs fairly warm. So before I get into the thermal testing for this, I kind of want to go over what I did. It's not nearly as scientific as something like Gamer's Nexus might be, but it does give us a really good idea of just how warm this thing does in fact run. I ran the CPU under an IDA64 stress test for 10 minutes at the same time running Furmark for the same 10-minute period on the GTX 970, and in the stock configuration with the side panels on, as well as the mesh dust filters, which are fairly restrictive. I was kind of hopeful that we would get better results than we did, considering that I could definitely feel some air moving through those, and there was some airflow, but the temperatures were pretty distressingly high for a Ryzen 2600 running at just 3.9 gigahertz at 1.25 volts, and then the GTX 970 SSC running at just completely bare bones stock, and we were seeing really high temperatures to the point where I would be a little bit concerned for the long-term lifespan of the components involved. Now, by removing these dust filters, we did see a significant performance improvement on the temperature side of things, where it wasn't nearly as loud. It also ended up being, while still on the high side, it was at least bearable as far as temperatures go. In the long term, I don't think we'd see a drastic shortening of the lifespan of the components. It's still warmer under full load, under a long sustained load. It's definitely still warmer than I would really like to see it at, especially when considering once you look at the temperatures of the GPU and CPU once the actual side panels were removed completely. Now, there are a couple of recommendations I have for this case and actually getting those temperatures down. The first thing is, don't install these filters. They will do a great job keeping dust out, but they'll also do a great job keeping those fans from pushing much air out of the case as well. So instead, I would get some metal fan grills that go over these things. They can be very expensive. I'll try to leave a link in the description down below in case you can't find any, but they should be pretty inexpensive to get a couple of fan grills to cover up these fans so you don't accidentally get your finger chewed up by a fan if you accidentally rested on top of the case. The other thing that I would do though, and this requires a little bit more hardware on your end to provide, but I would get some spacers and raise these glass side panels off the actual chassis itself by maybe like 1/4 of an inch, just to give you a little bit of a ring of free air that can flow into the case clear around it. That would allow the CPU cooler to pull more fresh air in, as well as the GPU on the backside would have much better access then to getting fresh air into the system. It's actually something that I would love to see a revision 2 on if Cemo or the manufacturer of this case ever comes up with a revision 2. To me, I think that would be a great option. Now, if you're putting lower end hardware into this case that doesn't run as hot as these components that I'm using, then you probably don't need to worry about that much, or maybe it's just a PC that's not gonna see sustained heavy usage over the course of the day. Maybe it's just gonna be like a web-based machine for watching Netflix and doing email, that sort of thing. In that case, you probably don't need to worry about altering it very much. If at all, you could probably even at that point leave the dust filters on top of it. But if you're going to do something like gaming where you're going to be hitting some of your components fairly hard over a sustained period of time, something like an hour or even 2 hours, you may want to go ahead and invest in some of those extras, because fan grills and spacers and maybe some screws that you can actually mount the glass side panels through the spacers to the frame itself, those aren't gonna add much to the cost of the case itself. The other thing the Cemo A4 does have going for it is it's a very neutral design with just a pure aluminum metal frame. So you can totally just take the power button off, take the USB port out, and you could paint this thing any color you wanted. So if you're into a DIY solution where you take a base case and sort of make it your own, this is a great canvas, especially because we've got this nice front panel that is pretty much completely blank. You could, if you're an artistic type, you could do a lot with a case like this. You just may have to be willing to invest a little bit more money and time and effort into making this thing your own for it to really be an awesome case. But at its base level, I do like it as just a blank canvas to work with. It has a nice small footprint, especially if you're sort of cramped on space. This thing is gonna be great for you. provided again that you're willing to work with those temperatures and do things to help out the temperatures in the long run. But of course, I do want to hear from you guys. What do you think about a case like this that may be a great blank canvas for a modder, but does require some work? Is this something you would be willing to buy yourself, or is it something you would pass on for a more refined case that may not be is easily customized, but at least it's more of a finished product? Let me know down below. But of course, I don't want to get out of here without thanking Banggood.com one more time for sending out this Cemo A4 case. If you're interested in getting this thing, I will leave the link down below. And of course, if you like this video, hey, give it a like, share, subscribe, comment. All those things are very helpful to the channel. You can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Hoosier Hardware. And as always, I'll let YouTube queue up a couple more videos from my channel for you to watch. I'm Shane with Hoosier Hardware, and I'll see you guys in the next video.